Thank you, Presiding Officer. In 2016, when an MP, I spoke in the House of Commons about being raped at the age of 14. Too little has changed. In the immediate aftermath, I received thousands of cards, letters and emails. Simultaneously, I received extensive abuse on social media, almost always from men. After my speech, I made a complaint to Police Scotland. The perpetrator was identified and charged, but not prosecuted due to the passage of time. It was never reported in the press. Making a police report was difficult. I learned why some facets of my adult character were as they were. When I described my very varied career to Police Scotland, they explained to me that my workaholic habits were entirely understandable. Because when someone like me starts running, they keep running. For many women, however, it's into the arms of an abusive partner, drugs or drink. The police also helped me understand why my disclosure in such a public arena where I was being constantly scrutinised and briefed against was in fact a rational action. Because it's common for women to disclose after significant life-changing or shocking events such as the loss of a child or partner, and often after years of silence and denial. Disclosure was me finally standing my ground. I was naked from the inside out, and all I had was that small voice that whispered, "Hear me." I learned that freezing, rather than fighting or fleeing, had become a learned behaviour. I understood how I'd repeated this freezing during other events. The victim's guilt and shame I carried is regrettably quite normal. The process was difficult for me and my family as we came to realise the extent to which I'd masked my pain. And I went through a process of grieving for the innocent girl I had been and the uncluttered woman I might have become. But I refuse to have my voice shut down ever again. Multiple studies help us understand how trauma forges different neural pathways and how future life events can add trauma upon trauma, and that makes true recovery difficult. Women all around the world are raped, beaten, abused, subjected to genital mutilation, sold into slavery, prostituted. And data from the UN tells us that globally almost 1 in 3 women have been subjected to either violence from an intimate partner, generalised sexual violence, or both at least once in their life. Fewer than 40% of the women who experience violence seek help of any sort. Such are the taboos of speaking out. Women and girls together account for 72% of all human trafficking victims globally, with girls representing more than 3 out of every 4 child trafficked victims. Most face a life of sexual slavery. Sex-based violence is a major obstacle to universal schooling and the right to education for girls, and we've seen this recently firsthand in Afghanistan. The COVID pandemic has not only enabled more crime against women, it has also disproportionately affected them economically, thus placing them more at risk. The Me Too movement brought solidarity to women sharing common experiences about the use and abuse of power, but it hasn't brought change. Historically, our state systems were developed by men for men. Our law, our business practices, etc., are now being replicated by artificial intelligence algorithms, ironically embedding sexism further. The advances women have made feel elusive. Women as a sex class are constantly under threat, and many feel that our hard-won rights are being challenged. The fact remains that countless other women, like myself, were attacked because of their sex. Sexist and misogynistic behaviour is common in politics, and we cannot pretend our Scottish Parliament is immune. Scotland's line is rampant in one area, that of casual entitlement, despite huge efforts by government and multiple agencies. But sexual violence isn't just confined to some. It affects lesbians, gay, straight people, trans people, women and children and men. but the perpetrator is almost always a man. Good men, that majority of decent, loving, caring men I know exist, have a critical role in helping effect the changes we so desperately need. Whether casual sexism, a joke that the female target doesn't find amusing, or more blatant misogyny that tries to shut down women's voices, society needs us all, including men, to shape the change we still so desperately need to see. Let's all commit to making that change.